Hello, and welcome to The Muppets, the Sitcom, the podcast, presented by toughpigs.com. This is the podcast where we revisit The Muppets' grand return to television in the 2015 ABC series The Muppets and see how it holds up 5 years later. You can follow along with us by revisiting The Muppets, which is now streaming on Disney+. I am Ryan Roe, your host for this week's show, and our special guest today is...
Hey, I'm Scott Hanson. I am in the Muppet fandom as an editor of Muppet Wiki, which I co-founded with someone you probably all know, Danny Horn, back in 2005. And I'm happy to be here on this episode of your podcast.
Thank you for being here. And yeah, you're one of the, how many edits do you have on Muppet Wiki?
I'm closing in on 200,000, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm getting close.
Yeah, that's a lot. You're definitely one of the big cheeses at the wiki.
Yeah, we're coming up on our 15th anniversary this year.
Wow, that's amazing. It's kind of hard to think. Every once in a while, I will be looking something up on our Tough Pigs forum, and I'll stumble upon an old thread where somebody was like, what was the episode that had this one musical number? We used to have to ask each other, and then I don't remember. Let me go check my tapes or whatever. And now everything that we could ever need to know about the Muppets is on the wiki.
Now it's on the wiki, and we don't have to talk to each other anymore.
Right. We just look it up.
I mean, most people don't know this, but Muppet Wiki was started by Danny and myself from a phone conversation that we had about a Tough Pigs article about Grover's mom.
Oh, yeah. The now legendary groversmom.com. When we tell people that we're from Tough Pigs, at Muppet events, that's an article that still comes up a lot.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, we did we put weeks of research into that, and those weeks of research and all that work that we put into it was what was like, hey, why don't we just make groversmom.com an actual thing,
right?
But apply it to apply all of that research that
every
we put
Muppet
into that
and
one
all
character,
of their relatives, yeah,
exactly, to every character. So, and here we are, 37,000 articles later.
Wow. Well, everyone should go to Muppet Wiki. Everyone should read the groversmom.com article. I will link to that in the show notes.
It's a classic.
Yes, and yes, your invaluable contributions to both of those things from you. We are here today to actually talk to each other rather than looking things up online, to talk about the episode The X Factor. This is the fourth episode of The Muppets. This aired on ABC on November 3rd, 2015. And before we get into the specifics of this one, Scott, what are your overall thoughts on this series? I assume you watched every episode as it aired.
Well, my first thought is that it's the sixth episode. Did you say it was the fourth episode?
Yes, I said the fourth episode because that was left over from the last my previous notes that I copied and pasted and didn't change everything. You know what? I'm going to leave this in, but I will say that The X Factor is the fourth episode, which I believe aired on November 3rd, 2015, unless I got that wrong too.
So The X Factor is the sixth episode.
Sixth episode.
Yeah, and it aired on November 3rd. For some reason, I don't know if you guys have talked about this already, but Canada got it the day before, so it technically premiered on November 2nd.
Right. Yeah, it was like a City TV, is that?
Yeah.
Canadian channel.
Right. Yeah. So they get the honor of the premiere of each of the episodes, but of course the domestic air date was November 3rd. Yeah, so the X Factor is a good episode amongst what I think is a good series. I know that it's kind of fans fall down on one side or the other for this show, and I'm a big fan of the show. And the X Factor is a good entry in that. It's not my favorite. I mean, some of the things I like about the show is that one of the things that Frank Oz says about a lot of the Muppet projects that have come after he had been involved was that when they try to make them too sweet, it just sort of makes him gag. And I feel like this was the project that was, if it wasn't a conscious response to that. It certainly felt like something that uh, flew in the face of that
Yeah.
sentiment.
Yeah, people love to say like Disney doesn't understand the Muppets, but people also love to say they should listen to Frank Oz and do what he says they should do with the Muppets. And yeah, if if Frank Oz, if his one of his complaints is that the Muppets are getting too sweet, this series, I don't think you can accuse them of doing that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it definitely has its sweetness, but I think the irreverence was sort of overshadowed by any of the sweetness that was put into the show, primarily because, I know we're not talking about this episode, but it was in the trailer. Kermit has that line about his life being a bacon wrapped hell on earth.
Yes.
And I think that there are many examples of that throughout the series that people just sort of latched onto, and they say, "Oh, how dare they?" And yet they forget the Liza Minnelli episode of the Muppet Show, which is all about literally stabbing and murdering Muppets.
It's true, yes.
But yeah, I think people have a sentimental memory about the Muppets, and a lot of that has to do with crossing their memories over with Sesame Street. Certainly, you would never do anything like what they did with the 2015 Muppets series on Sesame Street.
Right.
And I'm sure you guys have talked about this at length. And by the way, I generally refer to the series as M15.
Yeah, because there's the Muppets the characters, the Muppets the 2011 movie, the Muppets the 2015 series. It's very confusing.
Yeah, it's also confusing to Disney Plus if you go onto the landing page for the 2015 ABC Muppets series. The header photo is a photo from the 2011 movie, The Muppets.
I hadn't noticed that. I do have to kind of take a second every time I go to look for an episode. I just have to double check which logo I'm looking at to make sure it's the right one.
Yeah, the logos are pretty good if you're on the Muppets landing page, but once you get to the show,
Yeah.
the header it's a photo of the Rainbow Connection
Oh
number
yeah.
in
Well,
the
yeah,
2011
that
movie.
makes it seem like somebody actually confused the two projects when they were
Yeah,
choosing the photo. So,
yep,
all
absolutely.
right. So generally, you're a fan overhaul of the series.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and not just the tone, but I mean, certainly watching it again 5 years later, I'm picking up on a lot of the same things that I loved about it. But I'm really fascinated by just how snappy the dialogue is.
It is a funny show. It is a show with a lot of good jokes.
Yeah, there's one recommendation I make to people is that watch it with the subtitles because the jokes come fast and furious.
Mm,
There's a lot of subtleties. I was writing down some notes for the wiki for things that we forgot to add 5 years ago. There's in the last episode, Pepe has a line about even God rested on Sunday or something like that, and he's referring to himself as like a godlike writing character or something.
okay.
I forget exactly what it was, but the quickness that he puts that line out there and the subtle way that it's delivered is you almost miss it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so listen to if when you're watching the show again, I recommend putting on the closed captions or the subtitles.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
But not just the writing and not just the characterizations, but I think the lighting looks so good. When you compare this with the latest outing Muppets Now on Disney Plus, which I was not a fan of. The,
Yeah.
the lighting in this show is so rich. The set design is
Yeah. I
gorgeous.
mean, it is more, I think, well, this show is supposed to take place in the real world.
Yeah,
And Muppets Now is, I don't know, just some kind of crazy internet world.
yeah, yeah. There's actually one thing I was looking at was we have there's an article on the wiki for the Katsuya restaurant, which happens later in the episode. I don't know if you want to. Are we jumping? Are we going chronological? Are we jumping
I
around?
mean, we will, but that's fine. You can mention it.
Yeah, well, I mean, just since I'm speaking about the sets, Katsuya is a real restaurant. There are several
Mm.
locations in LA. There's several locations worldwide. But they built that set because they needed to, and you can see there are production photos. They built it the way we have seen most Muppet sets, where it's sort of like built several feet off the floor so that it can
Oh, so they
accommodate a hole
didn't
for the
just go to
Muppets.
the real restaurant. They
Nope.
actually built it so
Right.
I guess two Muppet characters could move around in it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because only two Muppets are actually inside the building.
Piggy's. I think Piggy's in the doorway
Oh,
at the end
okay.
of that scene. So I guess
So
technically
three Muppets,
three.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and then whoever was assisting, somebody might have been right-handing Kermit if they were doing
Oh, yeah,
something.
that's probably true, yeah.
So there's
But
probably a handful of puppeteers there. Yeah.
yeah, wow, no, they definitely put a lot of work into this show and money.
Yeah, and it looks gorgeous. I mean, you never would, I think at the time I Googled Katsuya just to see if it was real, and before I did any real research to find out that they built the set, I was like, oh yeah, that looks like the restaurant that's in the show. So they clearly went out of their way to really put a lot of detail into the set design and
Yeah.
um, Katsuya. They apparently had a good relationship with them because for a week after the episode aired, Katsuya also had a special on the menu, the Miss Piggy roll and the Kermit roll.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, in the episode, Kermit says he ate so much sushi they named a roll after him, but it's something that sounds gross. It's eel and something.
Yeah, it's eel and cream cheese.
Yeah, I assume that's not what the real life Kermit the Frog roll was at Katsuya.
No, it's not. They blogged about it at the time. The
I
blog
had
link
no
is
idea
gone,
about
but we
this.
recorded. Yeah, so on the wiki, we included the full ingredients of the dish. I don't remember exactly what it is, but if you look at the photo, it's a sushi roll, and there are I think there are caviar eggs on the top, but they're laid out in the shape of Kermit's pupil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
neat.
that's really cool. I'll have
Yeah,
to look that up. So yeah, we got to talking about the air dates and stuff, and I skipped over the synopsis of this episode, which is that this is the one where Kermit has to buy a birthday present for Denise, and the Electric Mayhem takes Kristen Chenoweth on a strange van ride in the desert.
yes,
So starting with the Kermit and Denise storyline, at the beginning of the episode, they're taping an episode of Up Late with Miss Piggy. Kristen Chenoweth is the guest on the show. Kermit's girlfriend Denise shows up. She's really excited about Kristen Chenoweth. I
yeah,
think this is only the second time we've seen Denise on the show,
that's true. Yeah,
and considering that she was sort of set up as like this, oh, it's Kermit's new girlfriend, and then everyone, she was in all the press releases and the promos, and everyone started to freak out about it, like, what is this, Kermit has a new girlfriend?
yeah.
And then yeah, here we are, and this is only her second appearance.
Yeah, Denise is she's kind of interesting in that she's not very interesting. I think that she was included in a lot of the press materials because they knew that it would get people talking.
It
Like,
sure did.
oh, the scandal. Miss Piggy and Kermit break up and blah blah. And I think it was effective. I think it worked. As a character, Denise isn't a bad character at all. I think we were only just getting to know her. As a matter of fact, I think we probably get to know more about her in this episode than maybe any other because it's
Yes, I
her
think so.
birthday. And yeah, um, later on in the episode, Piggy's asking some details about her so that she can. We'll get into that, but
Right.
yeah, he lists off a whole bunch of stuff that like we didn't know about Denise before.
Yeah. Yeah, they're really trying to give her more of a character and a personality here, which is nice because you wanna have an idea of why Kermit is infatuated with her. So
Yeah,
having her sort of just get so flustered to talk to her favorite celebrity, Kristen Chenoweth, is kind of an endearing moment that makes you like Denise a little more.
yeah, I like that moment, and I like uh, a couple actually it was inspired by this show 5 years ago. I started sort of like a rough draft article for the wiki that still isn't finished. I need to get back to it about basically the history of Miss Piggy's relationships with other women. um,
Mm,
on the Muppet Show, it seemed like she was either you know good friends with them, like with who's the guest star who
Cheryl Ladd.
Cheryl Ladd. Yeah, she did
Yeah.
the whole they do that whole karate let's beat up Kermit sequence, right?
Yes. That's like a
Um,
weird, violent girl power thing.
Yeah, which I think worked really well in the 70s, but wouldn't work well now. Uh, or you have a female celebrity that she decides is her nemesis for that one episode, and I like that,
Right.
Kristen Chenoweth, who has a history with the Muppets, they sort of she doesn't become an instant rival, which is nice because we already had Reese Witherspoon as a rival, and we
Yeah, and that
had
was I wasn't on the podcast last week to talk about that one. That was Joe, and I don't have the guest name right in front of me, but I do want to just say that is not a good episode. The one with Reese Witherspoon.
oh yeah, well,
I am not a fan of that whole like Piggy hates Reese Witherspoon, Reese Witherspoon hates Piggy, and they try to upstage each other at Habitat for Humanity. That's a mess.
I think Piggy's interactions with women are, I mean, that's one of many, and it's certainly a problematic thing. I think that's probably a discussion for an entirely different podcast. But the other one was Christina Applegate. She also
Yes.
has a rivalry with her earlier in the series. So here we have, I don't know, is it what, the third, fourth, fifth pretty blonde guest star that we have on the show?
Yeah. A large percentage of the guest stars on this television program are attractive blonde women.
Yeah. So, Kristen Chenoweth she's, people know her. She's an A-lister. And she's kind of known for being, I mean, well, certainly she's a theater person, and they make some jokes about that in this episode.
Yeah.
But what I liked was that there's a teeny bit of a rivalry there, but not much. Mostly they're talking to each other on a friendly basis. Kristen Chenoweth says something like, "Oh, hey, I think this is the first time I've seen you since you and Kermit broke up," and
Right.
they kind of have a friendly
Right.
rapport.
They do seem like Piggy seems to be happy to be talking to Kristen Chenoweth and hanging out with her
Yes,
rather
yeah.
than like just furious at her
And of course,
for
because it's
existing.
Piggy, it can't be completely okay. She does take a crack at her about her Broadway career, but Christian Chenoweth gets back at her because when they sing their song together, which I think is a real fun setup, by the way, with like, oh no, we're out of time, and that's another bit where they're working together.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's like, oh, it would have been nice. It's the end of the show. It would have been nice if we had been able to sing together. And then I think maybe at the same time they both go hit it, and the music starts.
Yeah, so that's clearly something where within the fictional confines of that show, Miss Piggy and Kristen Chenoweth decided together off camera that, oh, hey, we're going to do this bit for the audience and it'll be cute. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a nice little moment of, Piggy amicably working with another woman who doesn't threaten her. So they sing their song, and it's fun and everything, but at the very end, Kristen Chenoweth does get the final diva moment,
She
which
hits a
I think
really
is,
high note.
yeah, and the fact that she did that and got away with doing it without a karate chop from Miss Piggy is, major kudos to her for that.
Yes. And to the writers, I would say, because look, Piggy doesn't have to be mad at everybody all the time, and it's still entertaining. I
Yeah,
would have liked to see I would have liked to have seen more of this musical number, but of course, because it's this show, we can only see a few seconds of it.
yeah,
But I also like during that song. It's the song I could have danced all night.
yep.
I like that we see Statler and Waldorf singing along with it. That seems very in character for them. Like it's an
Is
old song, they love it.
is this the one where Statler goes woo woo at the end, and Waldorf is like, "What? You like that?" And he's like, "What? I can have feelings too." Was
Um,
is that this episode, or is that a
no, he
previous one?
actually. I think Statler makes a comment. Oh, he says something like, "I like that Kristen Chenoweth. Do you think I'm too old for her?" And Waldorf says, "What? You're cold?" And Statler says, "Oh, I guess that answers that question."
Yeah,
Something like that.
that
So
that might
just
be that might be the same moment where they're talking about how they like Christian. They say something about, actually it's in my notes here, but they're all over the place, and I don't want to waste time hunting for them. But they say something about how attractive she is or something, and there's a young man in his early 20s or so sitting right next to Statler, and you can see him looking, and like he's wide eyed and like, nodding his head in agreement, like she sure is an attractive lady.
That's like an extra, just hoping that somebody will notice him on camera, and you noticed him,
I
so
yeah, we saw him. We saw you,
it
dude.
it paid off. Also, Uncle Dudley says that he owns the domain name chenowethfan1.com.
Yes,
Now, did you try going to this website? Because I sure did.
yes, I did.
It redirects to disney.com, so they actually bought this domain name,
Yep. There's
presumably to keep it away from people who would turn it into a porn site.
Yeah, well, okay, sure, you had to go there, Ryan. But I was going to say, I was just going to, buy it and redirect it to like, some Muppet fan hub or something.
Yeah, or you could buy it and redirect it if it becomes available again. Redirect it to Kristen Chenoweth's page on Muppet Wiki.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of two fictional websites in this. I didn't write the other one down, but it's at the very end when Pepe gives his email out.
Yeah, yeah, I have the. So I'll just talk about this now. It's Don Juan Prawn at impepe.com.
Okay,
impepe.com also redirects to disney.com.
I
But
figured.
knowing that existed, I tried sending an email to that email address just to see. Like, he actually holds it up on a card written down, which makes it seem like they wanted people to try writing to that address. Of course,
Yeah.
that was 5 years ago, so I did not get a reply to my email that I wrote, which I basically just said, like, "Hi, Pepe, is this still your email address?" But if they do write back, I will let people know and give an update on this podcast.
Yeah, please do. I didn't bother doing it for the same reason because it's 5 years on, and I didn't think anybody would be doing anything with it. But I can't remember if anybody did it at the time, and again, I ran out of time. I meant to go back into our conversations on the Tough Pigs forum about when we were talking each of the episodes when it came out,
Yeah.
and we probably mentioned the email address at the time, and somebody might have done it. I just can't remember if we did and what happened with it or not.
Yeah, I don't. If they did, I don't remember. But yeah, that's a good question. If anyone else out there who is listening to this
Let us know.
emailed Pepe in 2015, yes, definitely let us know.
Email into the past and find out what he was saying 5 years ago.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
So Denise's birthday is tomorrow, and
Yes.
Yolanda and Dudley tell Kermit that he has to buy Denise a birthday present, which he is really nervous about because he's a bad gift giver, which I believe is a brand new trait of Kermit's that we're learning about. But I kind of like that.
Yeah, I can see, Kermit is the producer of Up Late with Miss Piggy. He was the producer of the Muppet Show back in the day. He's always been the producer role, overseer role. I could see him being so tied up in everybody's chaos that he just doesn't have the emotional capacity to pick out a good gift.
Right, like he always runs out of time, or
Right.
yeah. Although
Yeah.
actually now I'm just now remembering that in Muppet Family Christmas he gives Miss Piggy a Christmas present that she loves, which is a mink. So there is
One
at
of
least
one of the great classic Muppet jokes.
yes.
Yeah.
So there's at least one precedent, I guess, for Kermit giving a good gift. But who knows? He may have been thinking and planning and worrying about buying that mink for the whole year until Christmas. So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. I like Uncle Dudley's line when Kermit is asking for suggestions. He says, "I don't present solutions, just dramatic problems."
Yeah, I wrote that down too. I love that line. That's good.
Yeah, Dudley is starting to emerge as this great supporting character who eventually will be the sort of the MVP of the series.
Oh, he's so good in this show. And
Yeah.
and Matt Bogle is just incredible with him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really like a revelation, this character.
Yeah.
So Kermit asks the rest of the staff for suggestions. There's a whole scene of this. Most of these jokes are not very good. Gonzo suggests getting Denise a scale because women are always asking if they look fat, so now she'll know for sure. Pretty bad. Scooter talks about the time he bought his mom a gift. He painted a plate for her at Color Me Mine. This is also the beginning of Scooter. He's talked about his mom before on this series, but this is where he starts talking about his mom's boyfriend, Ken.
Yeah.
He has a line about Ken is always staying over, put a robe on Ken. I'm okay with the mom stuff. I know that was not universally popular as an addition to Scooter's character. I'm okay with the mom stuff, but I was never, I don't think I ever laughed at any of these Ken jokes.
Oh, I love them. I thought they were
Yeah?
great. I love the mom stuff. I don't think I've never disliked Scooter, but I also don't think that Scooter has ever been as interesting as he was in this show.
Hmm.
And that changes further on. Like there's an episode later where he goes on a date with Chelsea Handler,
Right.
which I like that a lot. But yeah, you're right. This might be the first mention of Ken. It's a little bit more of the stuff that we get with his mom. Um, I like all that stuff. I like that he lives with his mom. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, Scooter's a dork, so that fits.
Yeah,
But
I
I
like
don't
that
know.
he's resentful of her boyfriend for whatever reason, and I don't exactly know what the so the put a robe on Ken uh, bit might be a dick joke, but it might it might
Oh, I mean,
also.
I just assumed Ken is walking around the house in his underwear, but
Well, okay, right. So, but what made me think about it is during promotion for the show, they did there was a poster of Kermit wearing nothing but, of course, his collar, but he's also got like a towel around his neck. Uh,
yeah.
and the caption for the poster says, "Finally, a show that has the guts to do full frontal nudity," or something like that.
Right, okay, I vaguely remember that.
So I sort of connected the put a robe on Ken line with that and say, well, I don't know if is are they making a D joke, or are they or do we just not know Ken's species, because it's perfectly fine for Kermit to walk around with an open robe and
True.
not wearing any underwear. So, if Ken is a bear or something else, it might be
Yeah,
perfectly fine.
that's true. There, we have no idea, and we never see Ken.
That's right.
So, and I'm glad, they should not show a character like that. So,
But I guess I like the idea that even if it is socially acceptable for whatever species Ken is to be walking around with his robe open, I still like that it makes Scooter uncomfortable. I think that's funny.
hmm, I can't agree, but you have made your case for it.
All right.
So Scooter takes Kermit to the Color Me Mine store, whatever it is. This is one of these places where you choose a piece of pottery, and then they give you the paints to paint it with, and you decorate it, and then they put it in the kiln and glaze it for you. When this episode aired, I think we all just kind of assumed that this was product placement for Color Me Mine, which is a chain of these places.
Oh, is it? I forgot to look that up. To
Yeah.
Okay.
So have you ever been to any of these kinds of places?
I know of them. I know that there are like there are Play-Doh or clay places for like kids that you can take to do
Hmm.
this sort of thing.
Okay.
This more reminded me of like more of like a ceramics shop where you'd go and my mother used to do it when I was a kid. She'd call it, I'm doing air quotes, I'm going to ceramics now,
Oh,
she would
okay.
call it. So you would quote go to ceramics with quote your girlfriends, and you would quote do ceramics.
And they're that means they're painting ceramics.
I guess.
Hmm. So that's similar.
Yeah, I guess it's just a crafty thing for folks to get together and do. And I
Yeah.
love the idea that this is Scooter's idea of like a wild night out.
Right. Yeah, he talks about that. But yeah, I've been to one. I don't think it was a Color Me Mine, but I painted a monster, which I
Right?
still have somewhere on a shelf. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's kind of time consuming if you really want to do a good job of it. So I
Yeah.
don't know that I would want to go back and do it again. So Color Me Mine will not be a sponsor of this podcast, but
Well, please
yeah.
please
Anyway.
find your monster and post a photo with this episode when it
Oh,
goes
I
up.
should. Yeah, yeah, I will. But Scooter loves it. So yeah, and that is fun to see. Like he is a Color Me Mine expert. He knows all the employees who work there,
Yeah.
and he gives Kermit a plate to paint for Denise, and then he keeps offering helpful pointers on how to paint it. I like this, seeing this aspect of Kermit and Scooter's dynamic, because there is a history of Scooter quietly driving Kermit crazy.
Yeah.
which is what we're seeing in this scene.
Yeah.
I noticed Kermit picks up the paintbrush with his right hand and then is painting with it in a very coordinated way. Usually Muppets are left-handed when they write because, as we know, the puppeteers are almost always right-handed, so their right hand is working the puppet's mouth, which means their left hand is working the puppet's left hand. So they must have had another puppeteer here whose job in this scene was to work Kermit's paintbrush hand, and it looks really good.
Yeah, I did notice that, but I guess it proves that Kermit is ambidextrous. If he's I mean, and that's true for a lot of people. Some people write with one hand and then they do like another dominant activity with their other hand.
Yeah.
But it does remind me that I don't know what episode it is, but the puppetry in this show is extraordinary, and
it really is.
It's not something that most people, I think, notice. And I realize that makes me sound like the Onion T-shirt. I appreciate the Muppets are much deeper than you do.
No, but in this case, it's true.
It is true. There's one episode, I don't know which one it is, but I was so fascinated by it, where Kermit is just holding one of those clicky pens, and he's holding it in his hand, and his thumb is actively clicking the button to make, to extend the pen. And I love that I don't know if that mechanism was already built. I mean, certainly they've built stuff for his fingers in the past to do banjo plucking stuff in close up. Right. So maybe it's something similar to that. A friend of ours, Grant Harding from the Tough Pigs Forum, he actually built one for one of his puppets, and
he's a puppeteer, always working on cool stuff like that.
Yeah, so he kind of showed off how that could kind of work. So I assume they're doing something similar to that. But I love those little details. That I think I made a GIF of it at the time. The clicking pen, and it's quick and it's subtle and it's not like in focus. It's just something that he just happens to be doing because he is a character who lives in this world, and that's good puppetry.
Right, and the average viewer just sees that, and of course, anyone can click a pen, but people like us are watching and we're going, wait, how did they do that?
Yes.
So there's a lot of that here. And Steve Whitmire, whoever is working his right hand in this scene, it's very impressive and just really good puppet coordination.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
So Kermit's plate, I think, is really cute, and I think Denise would have loved it. It's this very, it looks like a child drew it, which is a little unusual for Kermit, but
no, I like it.
Yeah, it's this delightful painting of Kermit and Denise on their first date, and Scooter thinks that their table is a hippo. So
and she's a giraffe because he.
Yes.
I don't know why necks are so hard to draw, but apparently Kermit struggled with it.
Right, he says necks are hard.
Yeah.
So Scooter throws the plate in the whoopsie bin. I don't know if that is a term that they actually use at Color Me Mine, but it is a very funny turn of phrase, the whoopsie bin.
It's funnier later, and I won't. We'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah. So Kermit is really desperate now, so he goes to Miss Piggy for advice. He figures this will probably be fine because they said they were just going to remain friends. I guess, they've been okay as coworkers. This is probably still a bad idea, but I guess I don't know. Does he say that Piggy is a good gift giver, or he just thinks that she would be good at this?
I don't know, but it does lead to... No, I think he's skeptical, and she has to prove it. And the way she proves it is that she shows a letter that she received from Queen Elizabeth thanking her for a gift.
The GoPro.
The GoPro, yeah. So at some point in the past, for some reason, we don't know why, Miss Piggy gifted a GoPro to Queen Elizabeth.
Yes.
And she has a thank you letter.
See, what I would have liked to see during the end credits of this episode is the GoPro video that Queen Elizabeth made, like running around Buckingham Palace. From her point of view.
They could have rehired the same actor they got to play Queen Elizabeth in that episode of Muppets Tonight.
Oh, wow. That's the one where Bobo is refusing to let anybody into the studio?
Yeah, I believe so.
And it's like Queen Elizabeth and, I don't know, a bunch of other notable dignitaries, and he won't let them in the studio.
Yeah, it's Muppets Tonight. It's the Billy Crystal episode.
Okay.
And she's hanging out with Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, and Clint Eastwood. Oh, and
That's,
Boris. Wait, and according to the wiki, Boris Yeltsin, but
you
we
know,
don't
I
have
was
an
going to
article
say
for
Boris
him.
Yeltsin, but I wasn't sure. So, yeah. Yeah, they absolutely should have brought her back for this episode.
Yeah, just keep her in the
So,
family, man.
yeah. Piggy asks Kermit, what does Denise like? And he mentions a bunch of things. She likes, she puts ketchup on everything, including tomatoes. That's a good joke.
Yeah, I like that.
She eats cupcakes upside down until there's nothing left but the icing. That's,
It's a little weird.
yeah, quirky. And a bunch of other things he mentions. Then Piggy asks, what
She
is there?
mentions that she's a big fan of the Georgia Bulldogs. So
Yes,
that's
Georgia Bulldogs football.
so that's probably an indication of where she's from. We know she speaks with a slight Southern accent, not a very
Right,
heavy
she
one.
does have a southern twang, yes.
Yeah, so she must be from Georgia, I guess, or
I guess so, yeah.
yeah. So there you go.
Yeah. So every, because Miss Piggy reasons, every couple has to have a song. So Kermit and Denise must have a song. Piggy says about, referring to her and Kermit's relationship, she says, we nailed ours. Their song was You Are the Sunshine of My Life, the Stevie Wonder song, which also makes me wonder, why hasn't he done more with these characters? He did one interview with Muppet Magazine in the 80s, and he's been on Sesame Street, but you would think that Stevie Wonder would have done more with the Muppets.
Yeah, I guess for the Muppet Show family of characters, it's only that photo spread he did for Muppet Magazine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's too bad.
Huh.
But so with all this information, Piggy is now planning to take Kermit shopping for this gift, but he has a meeting with the network president, so she's going to buy the gift for him so he can have it in time for his I guess it's a lunch with Denise later in the day. There's a moment where he's just like still stressed out thinking about all this, and Piggy says, "You're making the squishy face. Don't make the squishy face.
I love that.
Relax,
Yeah.
smile." And then Kermit goes from doing his trademark squishy face that we all know to sort of shaping his mouth into something resembling a smile.
Yeah, which I love. That's one of my notes too. Is that there's at least two two moments in this episode alone where Kermit has some really great facial expressions. One of them is directly referenced in the script. It's this one where she says, "Oh, you're making the squishy face," the one that everybody has made memes of.
Right.
And then sort of like I think she does she put her hands on his face and
She
help
does,
him?
yeah.
Which reminds me of the Adele Hello music video that they did as promotion for this show. She does a similar sort of thing where she's sort of more forcefully molding his face into something. I love that video, but I love that moment.
Yeah, and again, good manipulation from Steve Whitmire to make Kermit's face sort of look like it's smiling, but still, it looks weird enough that it's a very funny visual gag. It's not just Kermit looking like he's smiling.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So later we see Kermit at the sushi restaurant Katsuya, waiting for Piggy to bring this gift. He's been stalling. He tells her on the phone, or he's leaving a message, I guess. He says, "Lunch is almost over, and the only thing I've got to give her is a punch card from Cinnabon, and I'm still 7 Cinnabons away from a free bon. That's not a gift, that's a burden." Good joke.
It's a good joke. And product placement. There's a lot of product placement.
Yeah, I guess that is too. This is, wow.
Yeah. You've got, in this episode
Number
alone,
3 so far.
You've got Funyuns, you've got Tic Tacs, you've got Tinder, you've got Cinnabon, and you've got Katsuya.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Funyuns, Tic Tacs, and Tinder in the main portion.
True.
Yeah.
So you're right. He's trying to stall. He starts singing "Happy Birthday" to Denise, but he tells her that first there's a little known 52 verse intro that he starts singing.
Yeah, I like that the lyrics sort of closely resemble like how somebody might start telling a child about the birds and the bees.
Right. It's like, a long time ago, your mom and your dad really loved each other a lot.
Yeah. And then Piggy shows up and it gets cut off.
Right. She shows up with the gift for Denise. It is a jewelry box, and it's just a bunch of elements to it that are from the list of things that Kermit mentioned before that Denise likes. Um,
It's a great
it's
gift.
yeah, it's
It's
just like a very personalized
Yeah,
gift for
she
Denise.
basically made like a bullet point list of all the things that Kermit, told her about Denise, and she went out and she sort of made, the perfect gift out of that, which I think is very sweet. But as I sense you're getting to, it's not quite so sweet, right?
Right. Well, so yeah, and we've talked on this podcast about how the show started out with Piggy being too mean and too much of a character that like there's no reason for us to like her. So it sort of feels in this story like they're moving in the direction of making us like Piggy a little more. I mean, the Kristen Chenoweth thing we talked about, definitely that works. So yeah, here she's done this very sweet thing and bought a perfect gift for her ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend. She also though gives Kermit her the bill for her lunch that she had while she was out shopping, which includes caviar. That is a very nice, very Miss Piggy
What else
thing to
do you
do.
dip your lobster in?
Yes. So Denise loves this jewelry box. She's so impressed that it is made of the wood from the state tree of her home of Georgia, her home state of Georgia. She knows Kermit's tree too. His state tree is magnolia.
There you
And
go.
yeah, did you look this up? The
No, does
magnolia
does
is
does that check out?
it is the state tree of Mississippi, which is where Kermit is often said to be from.
Nice,
So
good.
yeah, they did their research. But then she opens it and she discovers that it's also a music box and it plays "You Are the Sunshine of My Life." And
Yes.
then Kermit looks out the window and Miss Piggy is standing there, like I think she blows him a kiss
Yeah, she's got her hand up on the
or
window
just
or
waves at
something.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what Piggy is trying to do here or what point she's trying to make. I mean, I guess
Well, I think she
she's
says it
just
right afterwards, right? She's like, you don't ask your ex-girlfriend to buy a gift for your new current girlfriend. I
yes,
I think he knows that now.
yes. I guess that's
And
the ultimate point.
I don't disagree that Piggy is mean in this show, but Piggy's always mean. I remember watching the Muppet Show with my daughter so many years ago, and she was always pointing out when Piggy was being mean, and I think it bugged her.
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
think Piggy can always have the capacity to be mean. I don't know. She always has a high opinion of herself, and I think it's easy for some of the lazier writers to mistake that to her just like being mean to everybody.
I agree, which is why I think she's really well written in the show because she's not mean for the sake of being mean. You understand in the show why she's being mean. She feels like a three-dimensional mean character. Frank Oz talks a lot about, where the pain of being Piggy comes from. He talks about
Right.
it in interviews, but I don't know if even he ever telegraphed that well in the performance. I mean, certainly he did. I mean, no, he will always be, Miss Piggy's ultimate performer and
Yeah,
whatnot.
I
But
think it was always at the root of his
it, it,
performance.
it was, but I think the way the way he performed her, it usually felt like it was just for like a one note joke. And certainly in the movies, they made her a little bit more three-dimensional, but this show in TV terms, she feels like a three-dimensional character who is mean because of the things that she has gone through. She's going through stuff right now as they set up in the first episode. But I
Yeah.
believed it. I'm more comfortable with Piggy as a mean character in this show
Hmm.
than I am in any other TV show, I think.
I
Um,
think there are episodes of this series that do that more successfully than others. I would say
yeah.
this one is maybe sort of in the middle for me. The previous episode with Reese Witherspoon is not. I just thought that was just like Piggy being annoying, and there's no reason to like her in that one. But
Yeah.
yeah, I can see how this one they're trying, and yeah, you can see why she does this. I,
Yeah.
I guess I guess it's just it's just sort of torturing Kermit to have Denise be like, "Oh, I love the song," and then, like deciding that their song is also the song from the relationship with his ex-girlfriend that ended painfully.
Yeah. I guess the difference for me in this case is that and look, ever since I was a kid too, like I always was kind of like, why is Piggy so mean? The same way my daughter would point it out. Um, but this might be the first time where I agreed with something slightly vindictive that she did. When she said when she's talking to the camera later after the giving scene takes place, she says, you don't ask your ex-girlfriend to buy,
Right, and that was
and
not
she
a
says,
smart move on Kermit's part,
right.
for
So
sure.
I
Yeah.
I think this might be the first time in Muppet history where I agree with her. I fall down her side of the issue rather
Okay.
than Kermit's. And I think it's a testament to the writing of the character, but also the setup of the joke, and there is some sweetness there. There is some genuine, when she says, I would do anything for Kermit, he is my friend. I believe that. But then
Sure.
even in that sweet moment, she still has that little bit of vindictive, I got to get back at you for this because how dare you.
Yeah, I guess maybe just with this being the punchline of this storyline, I might have found it a little bit more effective if they do set it up with Piggy saying this was their song. But maybe if we saw like a talking head where Kermit tells us that he can't hear this song anymore without crying, or just something to make it a little bit more effective for Kermit's reaction to it.
Okay. Well, so how do you feel in the first place about this being their song? Like, I don't think it's ever, um, I mean, certainly they have sung songs together in the past, but I don't think
Yeah.
anything has ever been established as air quotes their song, right?
No, I don't think so.
Eh,
Yeah, I mean it's fine. I'm sure one reason this was chosen is that this is from the 70s or the 80s. This Stevie Wonder song.
I don't know, but I do know that whenever I hear it, of course I know that it's a Stevie Wonder song, but when I hear it in my head, I immediately go to "You Are the Sunshine of My Life." Minute Maid. Minute Maid
I
used this as their in a commercial, probably in the 80s. So
I
I know
don't
that that's neither here nor
recall.
there.
No, but I love that. Well, I actually always think of Jim Neighbors doing a cover of it, where he,
Oh, did he?
yeah, which his, he was supposedly a good singer, but when I hear his singing voice, I can only just hear Gomer Pyle. That's one that maybe a percentage of our younger listeners will not really understand. But
Yeah.
Jim Neighbors was a Muppet Show guest star,
Right.
so
Yeah, and his episode's out on DVD, so every Muppet
yeah. But
fan
it's just
should
like
have that.
you are the sunshine of my life. It's just very Gomer.
Well, is that like
But
when you see Frank Oz show up in American Werewolf in London, and you immediately hear Fozzie Bear?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of like that. But yeah, no,
right.
I like the song, and I like that it's established as their song. I don't really have a problem with the fact that this is the first time we're hearing it.
No, and I was just gonna say, if they had chosen a song from the 2010s, that would have felt wrong somehow. But with this being a song that we all sort of think of at this point as a like an old classic love song,
Yeah,
that it's a good choice.
yeah, yeah. No, I like
Yeah.
it. It's good.
Yeah. So that's it for the storyline. Yeah, I think we've pretty much talked. Oh well, there is the little tag at the very end of the episode where Pepe and Rizzo are now at Color Me Mine, and Scooter finds them there, and he's just kind of disgusted by their irreverence.
Yeah, I like this scene, which is surprising to me because I'm not that big of a fan of Rizzo and Pepe. I think that they obviously, I think most fans who have been watching them for any period of time know that they're kind of they might be the more sexist characters. They're the ones who are
Yeah.
more likely to throw out, some kind of a joke about, I don't know, just something irreverent about women or whatever. But I like this scene, and I like it in contrast to the earlier scene with Scooter and Kermit at the ceramics place, which didn't entirely work for me. It goes on for a bit too long, and I don't
hmm
understand the orange joke that Scooter makes. Um,
Oh, is he trying to discourage Kermit from using so much orange paint?
yeah, but
And
he
he says something like, "If you're gonna use that much orange, you might as well paint
orange.
an orange."
Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't quite that joke didn't work for me. Whatever the joke was, maybe it was just a display of his being awkward or
I
something. I don't know.
guess.
But this scene, in contrast, I like that they go back to it. It I try to think of scenes with any jokes that they might be making about women. Like, would this work if you placed two female characters in those roles making jokes about men? And
Mm.
in comparison to some of the other jokes that they make like this in the past, I think
Right,
that
because
this
they're
one's
using "Color Me Mine" as a spot to pick up women.
right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. They're using it as a spot to pick up women, but I can also imagine in a world where there are more female Muppet characters, which is another whole podcast. I won't get into that.
Hmm.
But you could imagine two other, women going to a ceramics class specifically to pick up like the cute guy at the ceramics class. So
Yeah.
in that respect, I don't have a problem with it, and it does lead to a pretty funny joke that I laugh at. You mentioned earlier that they establish you don't know if the official name of the throw out bin is called the whoopsie bin, but the fact
Right.
that Pepe can use that later as a pickup line for a lady he's making sweet eyes on, and she appears to be reciprocating. I think that's a funny joke. It just sounds funny.
Yeah, he says, "Meet me at the whoopsie bin."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
It just, yeah, it sounds funny.
it does. I don't know if it was supposed to be a reference to like the song "Making Whoopee" or if it just sounds similar. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a funny sounding thing to say.
Yes. Yeah. So the Kermit and Denise and Piggy storyline, it's pretty good. There's yeah, I mean they're sort of getting the hang of the characters. They're trying new things with Denise, and as we've said, they're trying to treat Piggy and the Kermit and Piggy relationship in a mature way. So
Yeah,
I like what they're trying to do.
yeah, and like we said about Denise, I don't dislike her, and certainly by this point, this is only her second appearance, so
Right.
it takes some time to build up a character, and you're putting this one new character in with a group of characters who've been around for decades. But mostly, I mean, if we're looking at it honestly, she really was just created as a foil for Kermit and Piggy's
Yeah,
story.
that's why she exists.
Right. And that said, they did try to make her a three-dimensional character, and I think she's not, like I said, she's not as three-dimensional as some of the other characters, but it's she's slightly more than just a one-note joke, which is kind of what she is on paper, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah. They probably should have given her a storyline in an episode where there's some, she's in marketing for the network. That has potential. They could have given her some,
Yeah.
there's some scandalous thing happening with one of the stars of their other shows, and she has to, I don't know, do, some kind of clean up on that, or I don't know, something like that. Whatever marketing people do, there must be a story in there somewhere.
Yeah, and maybe we would have gotten that at some point. I mean, this series
Right.
only
Yeah.
went
As
for
as
16
it went on
episodes,
longer.
and
Yeah.
I mean, they did have a lot of female writers, and
Yes.
halfway through the show, they got a female showrunner. So
Hmm.
I'm sure I liked a lot of what they were doing with Yolanda. We don't get a lot of Yolanda in this episode, but
No.
she does have she has a couple of funny jokes. She does the little oh, let me put that through my lady translator, and she looks at her phone and she goes beep boop boop.
Right.
I like
Kermit
that.
says Denise already told him that she doesn't want a gift.
Yeah.
And Yolanda looks at her phone and says, "Oh, let me run that through my lady translator." Beep beep boop.
Beep beep boop.
Oh, look at that! She wants a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
that's a good joke.
I like Yolanda, and the puppet was a little strange to me when you compare it to some of the other puppets. I don't like the way that they did her. I guess her eyelashes, but anyway, that's
Do you know
neither
if that
here
was
nor
the
there.
original Yolanda puppet, or did they just redress another rat puppet? Or
I don't know. I don't really understand a whole lot of the when they refurbish a puppet or they
yeah,
rebuild a puppet or whatever. But the eyes look to me the eyes don't look Muppety enough. And I think it
mm,
mostly comes from they've got these. Do you remember those scissors you would use in like crafting class in school that were they kind of had like zigzags to the scissors so
yeah,
that
yeah.
it kind of looks like somebody cut her eyelashes out with one of those pairs of
Oh,
scissors.
or maybe they did. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect to whoever built that puppet.
No, no, the Muppet Workshop people do a
Incredible.
fantastic job.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah,
I would like to have seen maybe more of an evolution with the look of the character if
hmm.
the show had stayed on.
Yeah, again, maybe it would have. So then there's the other storyline, which is Kristen Chenoweth and the Electric Mayhem.
Mm-hmm.
After the show, she's walking out, and the band thanks her for performing with them. She says, it was great. She's always wanted to perform with them. Animal says, Animal always wanted to perform with live snakes, but Zoot big baby, which is a weird joke, and also like I don't know if they were ever specifically snakes on the Muppet Show. But I do feel like it's a weird when you talk about live snakes. It doesn't seem like much of a leap to think about the Muppets performing with snakes on stage. You know?
Yeah, no, yeah, certainly there must have been snakes on the Muppet Show. I can't.
You would think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my mind instantly goes to the snake in Amidala's Jug Band Christmas. That might have been a background
Oh,
snake in something.
yeah, yeah, right. So I don't know, but then I guess this series takes place in a more grounded reality where
Yeah,
there's snakes are just snakes and they're scary. So, but Zoot is very funny in this scene, just like mostly standing still and not doing anything, and occasionally
yeah. Zoot's
giving
got
a
some great
line.
liners in this series, and this episode's no exception.
Yeah.
I'm curious how you feel though about Animal's dialogue. Like and certainly this isn't the first time they started doing it. They probably started doing it not too long after Eric took over the role. But at some point in the history of the character, they started using not quite full sentences, but much fuller sentences than Animal used to traditionally.
Yeah, but kind of like caveman talk.
Yeah,
Like in Muppets Most Wanted, when Kermit comes back after being replaced by Constantine, he says something like, "None of you noticed that I had been replaced by an evil doppelganger?" And Animal says, "Animal, no."
yeah.
Which is kind of like, I don't know. I don't know how that line would have been written, by Jerry Jewell in the 70s, but I don't think it would have quite sounded like that.
No, I mean, Animal, even when he was supposed to be doing more, there's I forget who it is, but for during, I think it was it was a talk show in promotion for Muppets Take Manhattan. Kermit and Animal were speaking to a presenter. It might have been Merv Griffin. I can't remember.
Mm.
But the interviewer and Kermit, they both keep asking Animal like all these questions, and Frank is he's sticking to his guns on his Animal. Animal is just a one note, like he's just giving out grunts and like maybe like half a word here and there.
Yeah, I guess that's really more like what we've seen from Animal traditionally.
Yeah,
Nothing that's even resembles a sentence construction. Just a word or two, and and grunting.
and I don't begrudge the change. I mean, certainly,
No, that's not a big deal.
yeah, I don't think so either, but I can see how there might be some traditionalist Muppet fans who are like, no, this isn't what Animal it is. He's supposed to be, this sort of grunting character. But I think at a certain point, there's always been this weird balance with the Muppets where you want them to evolve and change, but you also need them to stay true to, the basics of their characters. And I think that this is an acceptable change for Animal. And maybe at some
Yeah.
point in the future, they go back to just nothing
Oh,
but
they
grunting.
probably will. There's different people writing them all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is not a big deal. It's
Yeah.
just a little different. So the band asks Kristen Chenoweth to perform with them at Floyd's parents' anniversary party this weekend.
Yeah.
It's their 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
So how old is Floyd? Because this implies that he is. I mean, we don't know when they had him as opposed to when they got married, but
Yeah.
if Floyd is younger than 40, that can't be right.
Well, no, I mean maybe they had him out of wedlock and didn't get married officially until Floyd was
10
like
years later.
35 years old.
Oh, yeah, even better. Yeah, it just somehow And like even trying to assign ages to these characters
It's
feels
tough.
wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah, most of these characters. But then yeah, we've talked about this on this podcast even too, about the sort of quandary for the writers of when do the Muppets exist and how much of life have they lived? Like, do they remember things in the 70s as having happened in the 70s, or
yeah.
yeah,
I think it
they're
depends on the context. Certainly, Kermit will he'll 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 acknowledge a reference to a guest on the Muppet Show, but in the same breath,
yeah.
he'll say, he'll forget about something, which there's many layers to that, and I won't get into it. But yeah, it's interesting to think about for something like this.
Right. I just don't think Floyd should be younger than 40, but I don't
No.
know exactly how old he should be. But oh, that reminds me on a recent this has by the time this goes up, this episode will have been published. But we did a bonus episode of Moving Right Along on John Denver and the Muppets Rocky Mountain Holiday,
Nice.
which includes a joke where Floyd talks about having been in Marseille. Like apparently Floyd fought in World War II. So
What?
he's old. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
stay tuned for that episode of Moving Right Along.
All right. Perfect.
All right, so she agrees to play this party with them. So we see them driving out in the desert in the Electric Mayhem van. I forgot to look it up. Is this the first time we saw this van?
I think so.
Because, we all loved the Electric Mayhem bus, which was seen in the Muppet movie and Muppets from Space.
Yep.
That was destroyed in a fire later, unfortunately, tragically. So I like this van. It's cool. They've used it in several things since then. It was used in some of the
Carpool
music video
karaoke,
footage.
right? Was it used in
In
that?
what?
Was it used in carpool
Yeah.
karaoke?
Yeah, I think so. And in the music video footage that was used at Outside Lands and the Muppets Take the Bowl and the O2.
Okay. Maybe was it in Kodachrome?
That I don't remember, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
So
maybe not.
I like it. I think it's a good sort of spiritual successor to the old bus.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Just this multicolored Electric Mayhem van. Kristen Chenoweth starts. So she's concerned because her seatbelt is actually just a guitar strap that's connected to nothing.
Good joke.
That is a very good joke. And then Janice says, everything's connected to something when you think about it. Animal offers Kristen Chenoweth Funyuns.
Yep.
More product placement, as you suggested. We find out that Floyd's dad's place is not exactly a house. It's a hole in the ground with an old school bus in it. And that leads to a rare line of dialogue from Lips.
Yeah.
Lips says, he just sitting there all day playing cards with a bunch of stuffed jackrabbits. So, thank you, Lips, and congratulations on getting a full line of dialogue.
Yeah. He's got a couple in this series, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, this doesn't really, you don't get a sense of who Lips is as a character from this line.
No.
But I don't know. Maybe they could have kept doing more with him if the series had gone on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this whole scene is interesting because, it eventually devolves into a bunch of bickering, and we'll talk about why. But the bickering might feel a little bit out of left field for some viewers because I don't think we've ever really seen this depth to this group of characters before. Traditionally, Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem Band are mostly just kind of like these one-dimensional characters. We talked about it a little bit with Animal, and this is the most amount of dialogue they've had together as a group maybe ever.
It's true. Usually they're just like one of them will have a line here and there, or they'll be part of a group scene.
Yeah, they're just kind of thrown into like one note jokes. Usually, it's usually like rock band on the road type jokes. And
right, and Floyd and Animal were involved in some backstage storylines on the Muppet Show.
Yeah,
but like Animal, like we say, Animal kind of has to be a one note character.
Yeah.
And yeah, Floyd, we have a little bit more of a sense of who he is. He's just this cool guy. He's very concerned with doing things that are cool. He doesn't want to be involved in something like the Camelot number on the Pearl Bailey episode where he has to wear a suit of armor.
Or he hates
So
Fufu. I like that.
yes, he does not like
Yeah.
Miss Piggy's cute little dog
And
Fufu.
I think in one episode he shoves her in a drawer.
He does. Yes, I want to say is that the Diane Cannon episode? I don't know.
I think, yeah, you might be right.
But well, okay, so that's a precedent for Floyd being a jerk. But so Kristen Chenoweth asks how long Floyd and Janice have been together. It's nice that the writers didn't forget that Floyd and Janice are a couple.
Yeah.
Janice, though, kind of demurs on this. She says she's not anyone's lady, which annoys Floyd. I guess this is not something they've ever talked about before. Which
in 40 plus years.
Well, right.
Yeah.
Depending on how their continuity works versus our timeline.
Sure.
And then he's even more annoyed when Dr. Teeth says that she used to be his lady. And that's interesting to us Muppet geeks because on the first season of The Muppet Show, it was generally implied in several scenes that Janice and Zoot were together.
Yeah. And
they would dance together and at the dance, and there were, I think, a few little scenes where they were just kind of seen together, implying that they were a couple.
And that's why I don't like this joke.
No, I don't like this part of this scene. So basically, it ends up with the whole band just kind of yelling at each other and squabbling over various grievances.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess I don't want to be a hypocrite because every time I talk about the series, I say, the Muppets should be allowed to try different things with the characters. They should be able to develop the characters. And yet, I don't like seeing these specific characters squabbling like this amongst each other.
I don't mind the squabbling. I wish it was a different premise. I think
maybe that's what it is.
I don't like that Janice is the only female in the band. So I think there's a tendency for when you have characters like this in a franchise, there's a tendency for, especially when you have rotating writers, you take the one female character and you say, okay, she's had her run with every guy in the group. They've done this with Wonder Woman in Justice League. They've done this with Batgirl in the Bat family, for our DC fans out there. And this feels like the Muppets version of that. It's like, oh, okay, so Janice is at what point is she going to have had a relationship with the other band members?
Right.
She's up to 3 now out of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, although it's not, they don't say that she's been with Zoot in the scene.
Yeah, and I'm sure the writers probably had no idea,
I'm sure
if they did, they ignored it or whatever.
Or they just didn't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, you're right. If it was I think if it was something sillier that started the fight, it would still be just as effective. You would still have, because it's not really funny to have them arguing over Janice not wanting to commit to Floyd and having been with Dr. Teeth in the past. That's not really a funny idea.
I like that
it gives it was something sillier that they were arguing about.
Yeah. I like that it gives Janice the opportunity to do the whole, I'm nobody's lady routine. I like that about the character, but you're right. It's not funny.
Right.
I feel like they could have done something funnier with that.
Yeah, something just more irreverent for them to be arguing. Something more unreasonable for them to be arguing about, actually.
Yeah. Yep.
But later, then we see them. They're all the van is parked, and they're all outside the van. Floyd and Dr. Teeth are yelling at each other. They're gonna actually start physically fighting. But Kristen Chenoweth tells them, now that they've gotten everything out in the open, they can just start over and be friends again. And then Floyd points out that actually they never had any of these problems until she showed up. So they leave her stranded on the side of the highway in the desert and drive away.
That doesn't work for me.
No, that is it's
very strange.
And it's not funny.
No.
If the guest star had actually, I don't know. I mean, this is something that maybe would work with a group of characters who were who we knew to be more sort of I don't know if misanthropic is the word, but like the cast of Seinfeld. I could see them doing something like this because they're just all sort of self-centered and or the cast of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I haven't really seen very much of, but from what I understand, those are all just sort of unlikable characters.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of that the writers might have been thinking of is that maybe they thought it was funny because Kristen Chenoweth is such a sweet. She's known as kind of being this sweet sort of celebrity personality.
Right.
Like maybe they thought like, oh, okay, well, yeah, obviously we could do this if like the celebrity was kind of known for being like an edgelord or something. Maybe it's funny that they do this to, but I don't think I don't think it works. It's
Right. Yeah, and now I'm thinking if the guest star had been portrayed as being more mean in the episode, would it have been funnier? And maybe a little bit, but still not that much
yeah.
funnier. Because you're thinking it's out in the middle of the California desert on this lonely highway. She's gonna die of a heat stroke. That's not funny.
Well, it's possible. So I don't know if you're going to talk about this now, but I don't think it was meant to be a deleted scene, but there was a promotional photo released for this episode where the Electric Mayhem Band are standing in front of the Twin Pines Chapel.
Right. It's from
They're
like Kill
they're
Bill and some
yeah.
other
So
various other
they're
movies and things.
referencing specifically Kill Bill because
Right.
it's the they're the camera takes a picture of their backs and they're facing it. And it's a it's a reference to that frame from Kill Bill. Um, but and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But it just occurred to me now that maybe they intended to do something with that. Maybe Kristen Chenoweth goes to that chapel, or they find her there, or
Mm.
something. Maybe that just got cut for time. That might have made
Oh,
that
like they
joke.
come back for her?
Maybe they came, yeah, something. The originally I thought that it was just a photo op, like they were out in the desert and they didn't plan to shoot anything there, and they were like, oh, but wait,
Could
let's shoot a photo in
Yeah,
reference
it
to
could
Kill
be.
Bill. But if they had intended to actually use that for something, that might have made this whole subplot about leaving her out in the desert actually work.
Yeah.
But as it is, it does not.
I also they could have redeemed it by having like an unexpected celebrity cameo pull over and offer to give her a ride. I don't know who that would have been, or even an unexpected Muppet character
Yeah, yeah,
pull
like
over and
I don't know, Big Bird still walking through the desert on his way to New York or something.
that would be funny. Yeah, Big Bird walks
Yeah,
by.
yeah, he's still
That
trying to
would
break into
never.
public broadcasting all these years
Yes,
later.
that would never ever happen, but it would have been hilarious.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I don't know. Not much else to say about this storyline. I don't like it,
yeah,
but
it's not great.
yeah, this is an example of they just. I don't know how much research into classic Muppet stuff the writers of this series did, but this one it kind of feels like they didn't really do much at all. They just sort of relied on their vague memories maybe of the Electric Mayhem and then just made them more unpleasant.
And look, that's always a fine line with any franchise. Whenever you bring new writers into into an established franchise,
Yeah, it's true.
there's the you always have the question of, okay, well, how much of the previous thing should we know about before writing this new thing? And you've got arguments from both sides. There are people who say like, well, you have to acknowledge everything and everything must be canon. But then you run
Right.
into, if everything is canon, then you can't, you're kind of tied to sticking to that. You can't really do anything new. You can't do anything
No,
different.
it's true. It's true.
So I don't particularly think that that's a bad thing. But there's always going to be nerds like us arguing about whether or not they made the right decision.
Right, and the thing is, no two nerds will have the exact same opinions.
Right.
So,
And
they can never please the whole audience.
and this was a big writing staff, so they may have had some of these same conversations. And then
Yeah, well, and Bill Prady was very involved in this
yep,
series. He had written for the Muppets with Jim Henson
yep,
back in the 80s. I mean, it had been a long time since he had actually worked for them,
yeah.
but
I don't
you would think that he would have some insights.
Yeah. I think he was probably present for a lot of the development of the show, but I don't think
Maybe
he,
not so much after that.
yeah, I don't think he sat in the writers' room with any of them. I think he kind of, and I talked to him a little bit while the show was being developed, and I got the sense that he kind of, passed this on to what was his name, who was the showrunner,
Randall
right?
Einhorn.
Einhorn, yeah. Um, and then later, Kristen Newman took over.
Right.
But yeah, it was a fairly good sized writers' room, and most episodes have like 5 or 6 people credited as the writers of the episode.
Yeah, which is not unusual for television.
Yeah, and it wasn't unusual for the Muppet Show. I mean, they
Oh yeah, I mean all the writing staff was credited on every episode of the Muppet Show.
right. Well, yeah,
Although that was a little more like
that was more sketch comedy than
right, yeah, one writer would write
yeah,
one segment and one writer would write another segment.
right.
But yeah. Yeah. So that's everything I have on this episode. Do you have any final thoughts?
Just like little things that as I'm always looking for little kind of in jokes to include on the wiki. One thing that I found this time going back was in the scene when Kermit goes to the up late writer's room to get some suggestions for Denise's birthday gift. If you look at the what's written on the whiteboard, I think it probably changes in every episode, but in this particular one, there's a joke in there about it's apparently a list of sketch ideas for Up Late with Miss Piggy, and one of them just says Edward Scissorhands opens a daycare center, fails.
Wow.
Which not only is that I think is kind of a funny joke. It's not hilarious, but it's amusing enough. But it's also the first time I think the Muppets have ever referenced Edward Scissorhands. So that
I would imagine so.
yeah
I like that because it's not just like Edward Scissorhands attempts to open a jar of pickles and fails.
yeah
That Edward Scissorhands opens a daycare center is not. It's a step further into absurdity.
yeah. Well, so the full thing of the whiteboard reads Edward Scissorhands opens a daycare center, comma fails.
Yeah,
which I think
I
is
like
good.
that. But and yet we never really see the sketches that they're doing on the show. There are a few little glimpses later in the series, but
Yeah, we
they
get
talk about this as if it's more of a variety show, but we see very little of that kind of stuff.
yeah, and I was okay with them focusing on the behind the scenes stuff, but I would like to have seen a little bit more of the stuff that
Yeah.
they actually produced for Up Late with Miss Piggy.
Yeah, if only to see more of the Muppet characters performing on stage.
Yeah, and I think we would have gotten more of that if the show had continued, because certainly when Kristen Newman
Yeah.
came in, they had already started moving in that direction anyway. I think a season 2 probably would have upped the ante on that.
I think you're right.
But
Yeah.
the second bullet point on the whiteboard I think is funnier, and it just reads critics pan indie feature film titled Wisdom of Whiteboards, semicolon, no one notices. Which I think is
Huh.
which I think is a very meta kind of joke to throw in there, because
Yeah.
I don't remember anybody ever mentioning that joke back when we were talking about it when it was on. I never
No.
noticed it, and I only noticed it this time because I was specifically focusing on just this episode for the podcast.
That feels like a writer or a writer's assistant or a PA or somebody just like, oh, we got to have something on this whiteboard. Quick, come up with something.
Yeah.
And that's what they threw up there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that.
I like it a lot. It's good.
Huh. All right. Well, if that is all, then we will wrap things up for this week. Everyone, please make sure you check out toughpigs.com on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those things. You can also chat with us on the Tough Pigs forum, which is linked on the front page of toughpigs.com. Our theme music, I should say, because I think I have forgotten up to this point, is by Stacy Rosen. Thank you very much, Stacy. Our logo is by Joe Hennes. Thank you to Joe. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan Roe. And Scott, where can people find you or the stuff you're working on the internet?
I'm primarily editing on the wiki, but I also tweet for the Muppet Wiki Twitter account, which is just at Muppet Wiki. So follow us there.
And is that you on the Muppet Wiki Facebook also?
Yeah. Yep.
There you go. Follow all of those things. And listeners, if you don't mind, please give us a positive review on Apple Podcasts or wherever. Tell all your friends about the show. And join us again next week when Joe will be back and talking about the episode Pigs in a Blackout. So until then, thank you and good night.